want to read you something from a rabbi, David Wolpe, from a site, a publication called The Tablet, which is an excellent publication. He's the rabbi of Sinai Temple in Los Angeles. And he recently wrote a book called Why Faith Matters. Just listen to this. All the folks in the audience, this isn't just about Judaism or rabbis or Jews. My synagogue is on the west side of Los Angeles. On a rough guess, about half my congregants support Donald Trump. Many of those who do, but certainly not all, are from the Persian community. We have had frank discussions. They know I deplore many of the things he says, and I oppose much of what he does. They know that I have criticized publicly and privately the inflammatory rhetoric of his presentations and warned them of its effects. They also know that we respect and listen to one another, that I do not preach politics at them, but I do speak with them and learn from them, and that our relationship in many cases is not only one of affection, but of genuine love. So when I see major American Jewish figures tell me that my congregants are illegitimate, my blood boils a little bit. After the tragedy in Pittsburgh, perhaps because I spend so much of my time at the bedside of the sick and dying, I expected that the first impulse of Jews in particular would be to simply offer messages of sorrow and condolence. It's what I imagined I would read when I opened a prayer for Squirrel Hill and for American Jewry from Franklin Fuhr, whom I know somewhat and have always respected. Instead, I read this, quote, "Any strategy for enhancing the security of American Jewry should involve shunning Trump's Jewish enablers. Their money should be refused, their presence in synagogues not welcome," unquote. In other words, more than half of my Sabbath morning congregants, Shabbat, and in some more traditional synagogues, almost all of them, should have the doors barred against their entry. Jews who make minions, pay Shiva calls, underwrite nursing homes and kindergartens, people who make Judaism possible with their flawed but real human presence for other people, should be cast out of their midst because of the levers they pull in the privacy of a voting booth. And what, after all, would a Jew who fled from Iran know about anti-Semitism or protecting the Jewish community, right? As Shabbat ended in Los Angeles, a city where in 1999 there was a terror attack against the Jewish Community Center, I saw this from another reporter, whose work I've always esteemed very highly, Julia Ihoff. "And a word to my fellow American Jews," she said. "This president makes this possible here where you live. I hope the embassy move over there where you don't live was worth it." In other words, the embassy move is what caused the killing in Pittsburgh, you see. And she has a voice on MSNBC. They're very proud of her. The calculation here, I suppose, is that people voted for Trump to get an embassy move and their vote proxy murdered other Jews. How careful should one be? Should a distinguished reporter be when accusing others of such enormities, even indirectly? And this goes to this guy Schmidt, a good little German. How do people think this message will fall on the ears of those who fled from Iran, to be told that they are in fact guilty in the death of Pittsburgh's Jews? Or even more shamefully, on the ears of Judah Samet. Mr. Samet, a Holocaust survivor, escaped death by 4 minutes before he was a little late to shul. Because he was. He's also a strong supporter of Trump. Frank, Julia, would you stand before this 80-year-old man, not in a tweet or online piece, but face-to-face, and tell him he's responsible for the death of his friends, the people with whom he prays each Shabbat? Would you bar him from the shul where he almost died again at the hands of Jew haters? Really? And that would make us the righteous ones. There is much that smart journalists and observers like these folks say that I agree must be said. Yes, we must be vigilant and aware and ready to spot and combat the virus of hatred. Yes, we must call out public voices, from the president on down, who speak in ways we believe endangers or radicalizes the population, he writes. But my congregants are not the ones who are dangerous, and manipulating responsibility to turn Jews into perpetrators is ethically appalling and communally toxic. We can only be a Jewish people when we don't excommunicate each other for religious reasons or political reasons or cultural reasons. Everyone is welcome to pray in my synagogue, right or left, no matter how much I, as rabbi, may object to your views. Because we do not pray as Democrats or Republicans, but as Jews. Now let us tear our clothes and mourn the dead. Rabbi David Wolpe. There are rabbis and then there are rabbis. There are priests and then there are priests. There's preachers and then there are preachers. They're really good ones, you can tell at times like this. Like Wolpe. Like the rabbi at the synagogue in Pittsburgh. And there are good reporters and bad reporters. There's good commentators and bad commentators. And unfortunately, most of the reporters are bad and have been awful. And same with most of the commentators on MSNBC and CNN and some others. I do not think that Schmidt and Matthews, neither of whom are Jewish, understand that when they tell a Jew that he has blood on his hands, when a Jew hater walks into a synagogue and murders 11 people, what a slander that is. You out there, most of whom aren't Jewish, you understand. But these insane ideologues with their talking points, who want to see their names in the media, they don't care. They could care less. These are insane ideologues. And they're given a platform and they're given a voice. And when you really think about it, it is the owners of Comcast. It is the executives of NBC and MSNBC who not only tolerate this, but perpetuate it. It is the owners of Time Warner and CNN and the executives of these corporations who perpetuate this even more than tolerate it. They know what's going on these media platforms that they own. And I've come to conclude that their hosts and their paid contributors reflect the views of the investors and owners of Time Warner and Comcast, of the New York Times and the Washington Post. I've come to believe this because otherwise, why would they tolerate it? This isn't freedom of the press. This isn't the press. Not as traditionally understood, not as historically understood. These are hate machines. MSNBC is a hate machine. Chris Matthews, Christopher Hayes, I don't even know the guy, Schmidt and the other, these are haters. These are vile human beings who say, just blurt out these comments for which they are celebrated in some crazy dark corner of our society. You look at MSNBC's ratings. They're minuscule. You look at CNN's ratings, they're even smaller. So what are they doing? A smaller and smaller audience. A more radicalized view. They're desperate. They're desperate. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.